Hey guys, NCS Fan 001 here, welcoming you to another one of those weekly trophy update videos or trophy list update videos. Today is Monday, April 15th, 2019, so this will have covered April 2nd through the 4th. Excuse me, there, 2nd through the 14th, I believe, or was it the 1st through the 14th? I think it was the 1st through the 14th, actually, because the last one went up on the 1st. So it's been a couple weeks since I've given one of these, and if you have not been tuning into my live streams, the reasoning was basically I was going to be on vacation this past week. The cruise ship got badly damaged like a few days before everyone was supposed to leave, and because of that, they refunded everyone's vacation and they give us all a free one like later this year or something. So because of that, since we're getting this vacation for free now, plus getting all the money back, we decided to take that money and still go somewhere because we were already planning to take off, all three of us, me and my parents, for the upcoming for the week. We were already planning on being out anyway, so we changed the plans around and we were going to go somewhere else. And I got my passport overnighted to me. And the morons of the United States Postal Service, despite it being overnighted, managed to lose it for like 3 or 4 days. It finally got here on Saturday, so thankfully I didn't have to go through the ridiculously long process of getting a new one. But it completely screwed up everything. And to top all that off, on Sunday, my allergies completely kicked in for this time of year. And that sort of knocked me out of commission for a couple days for pretty much everything, just with the sore throat and the headaches and stuff. Then it progressed just to its normal, more like a cold, just being kind of stuffy or runny at any time. And I'm still in that phase a little bit, but it's much better now. So mostly fully recovered and have been playing quite a bit the rest of this week. So over the last 2 weeks, there wasn't really a whole lot of different games I was really playing because I've been busy with that other stuff and dealing with other stuff. So the first game I finished was Last Rebellion. So I got the platinum not around the time like that the last trophy update actually went up. So this is a pretty easy platinum trophy. It's one that I would definitely recommend going for if you can find a copy of the game. I think it's a very limited edition game. You might be able to download it on PS3, but I'm not sure. Basically though, to get the platinum, you have to beat 8 optional bosses, which are those first 8 trophies, and then you just have to complete the game. It's a very kind of unusual RPG with the way that it works. Like, you attack body parts individually, and if you string them in a certain order, you do way more damage. And if you do that, like, it also gives you a combo that gives you way more XP at the end of the match for each one you do, and it makes it very easy to get very, very overpowered. It's a decent enough game. It's definitely one I would recommend playing at some point, if you can, like I said, find a copy of it, or just to rent, or just download it if that's a possibility. It's not very difficult if you have a guide pulled up of what all the combinations to hit the enemies are. That will make it significantly easier and make it go by in less than 10 hours. So it's a pretty quick and easy platinum. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's fun enough that it's worth trying out. So I got that platinum done. It only took me like 2 days of semi-constant playing. So then I jumped into some more Destiny 2, and I played that on a couple of streams last week, or I guess it'll now be 2 weeks ago. And I got the Triumph-based trophy. Now this one, not the hard Triumph-based trophy. This one's pretty easy. You just have to earn 5,000 Triumph points. It had a weird trophy delay to it, but it's still unlocked eventually, so it's very easy. It's basically gonna come naturally, especially if you have the DLCs, because it's just Triumph points come from completing random triumphs throughout the game, but a lot of them can be story related or just kill related and are pretty easy. So this one is pretty much unmissable if you have the DLCs. This one I'm working on. I have one so far that I bought from Xur, and that's really the best way to do it now, is to buy him from Xur. He only sells an exotic from Forsaken about every maybe 3 to 4 weeks, so it's more time consuming that way, but it is much easier than keep grinding for stuff and hope that they drop, because the exotic drop rate has been lowered significantly. The Triumph Seal, this is the hardest trophy in the entire game. Everyone says that it's terrible. I don't know exactly what it's going to entail. I need to look more into it and figure out which one's going to be the easiest, and I know it's going to be extremely time-consuming. The Collections badge I don't think is as hard. You can probably follow a guide for it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is a story-related trophy. This is an exotic quest, which is a little unmissable. I'll get to it eventually, because I haven't even finished the story yet for Forsaken, just from when I've played it. Gambit Match, that's pretty easy. Nightfall Forsaken boss, that's pretty easy. This one's story related, and then the raid, but you don't have to do it on prestige or anything, so it's much more tolerable. That'll probably be one of the last trophies I get in this DLC, though, just because I'd probably wait until Year 3 comes out and can get even more overpowered, and then probably get someone to carry me through the raid like I did for the base game, because I had 5 guys. Godin Meerkat, I think is his name, was the leader of that, or one of the main guys in that group. He sort of got me through the raid, which was awesome of him and some friends to get me through that. Made it much, much easier. I also played a little bit of Fallout 76 over the last couple of weeks. I've just been jumping in and out every now and then. Most recently, I did the Sheep Squatch event, or not event, just the Sheep Squatch questline. It only took about 3 hours to get to the final battle, but the final battles felt like a raid boss. I mean, I was drunk by that point, so I'm not sure if I was just really bad at it, but I think he's actually very difficult to kill because he's a 3-star legendary enemy with a significant amount of health and a weird attack cycle and stuff. So, unfortunately, it's not that long of a quest line, because like I said, I got to the final battle in 3 hours, and half of that was just roaming around, not knowing where to find certain items during it. So, it wasn't that hard to get to that, but that final battle seems like it's going to be pretty tough. But overall, I'm still only maybe a level 76 at this point, so I still have a number of trophies left in it. I mean, I'll get around to them eventually, just it's not really the kind of game I want to go back to in the limited time I have to play, so it's not usually first priority. And then finally, the main game I've been playing for about the last week now has been Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. So I picked it up on the 5th, on April 5th, so it took me 9 days to get the Platinum, which isn't bad at all because it's not the shortest game in the world, but it is, in my opinion, the easiest of the Borderlands games to Platinum, and it might be the fastest to Platinum. Now, that's not talking 100%. We'll get to 100% in a minute. You'll get 4 trophies here for completing all the missions in the game, so nothing too difficult there. There's nothing missable, nothing glitchy about it, thankfully. A lot of the missions are very, very short and simple, so overall it's pretty easy to do. This one you just have to jump on an enemy until it kills them. It's a little tricky, but it's still pretty easy overall. This is related to a challenge in the game. I don't remember exactly what you have to do. You have to do like 12 different tasks for it, but it's not difficult. As you can see, most people seem to get it through natural progression with that 41% earned rate. Then you have some story-related trophies. You have the 5 main bosses of the game, which are these 5. None of them are really hard at all. And in fact, they had said they were going to up the difficulty of the Vault boss, which is hilarious because they didn't. The Vault boss was not any harder than he was on the PS3 version, at least. It could be that I was slightly higher leveled than I was on the PS3 version, but I didn't feel like it was any harder than on the PS3 version. And that was also on Playthrough 1. I haven't gotten there yet on Playthrough 2. So then you have a miscellaneous trophy here. This one's pretty easy. This one's pretty much unmissable, the Elemental Artifact. Then you have to level up. We'll get to that in a moment, but you should get at least level 30 through natural progression and level 40 through early progression in the DLCs. So those are pretty simple to get. Then you have a bunch of trophies for just discovering all the locations in the game. Nothing difficult at all about that. You'll get all those through progression of just finding all the quests and doing all the quests. So nothing too bad there. Level 50, this is pretty much the last trophy I got, or if I hadn't have saved it for if I hadn't have saved a different one for last, this would have been the last trophy I got, because level 50 is a little bit of a grind because you're not going to get there naturally. Like, even completing the base game once and all the DLCs once is probably not going to quite get you to 50. It'll get you close, but probably not quite to 50. The good thing is, though, in the Borderlands franchise, there is basically a New Game Plus type feature It's usually called True Vault Hunter or Ultimate Vault Hunter or something like that. In this game, it's just playthrough 1 or 2, but once you have beaten the final boss on your main playthrough, you can then jump between playthroughs 1 and 2. On playthrough 2, you start over at the beginning of the game, but you keep all your gear and your levels and stuff, and it just makes everything harder, so it's basically a New Game Plus mode, but the cool thing is you can switch between the two modes at any time, so you can go back and play the DLCs, which are a little bit tougher on playthrough 1 once you've gotten stupidly overpowered from playthrough 2, carry over your good gear and stuff, and that can make things a lot easier. So level 50 isn't too bad. I got to it earlier on Sunday, like midway through the main story, probably like 2/3 of the way through the main story, having also completed the Dr. Ned's Zombie Island and the Claptrap Robot Revolution DLCs. Then you have a miscellaneous trophy here. This one's pretty easy, pretty much guaranteed. This one's pretty much guaranteed because the rack are super easy to kill. This one's very likely, and this one's basically guaranteed, but for this one, if you're having, for some reason, trouble with the money, there's a very easy way to grind money in the Claptrap DLC, and I'll get to that in a little while. Now we get to some co-op trophies. All the co-op trophies in this version of the game can be done with 2 or, in one case, 3 controllers. So it means you don't even have to go online once to get this, and the platinum will never be unobtainable, which is awesome. This one, you just have to win an arena match. There's a few places you can do this. You can just do it with a second controller or a second player. It only takes a few minutes, nothing difficult there. It's basically just sort of a multi-round duel. Speaking of that, you do have to win a duel, and for a later trophy, you have to win a duel without taking damage. But if you're just using a second controller, just have each player whack one another to start the duel, and just kill them quickly. Revive someone, super easy, nothing difficult at all about that. 15 missions in co-op. This is not difficult because there's a lot of really short missions right at the beginning of the game, but it does slightly up the difficulty to have multiple players in the game at once, especially when the second player is not actually active. And I do intend to play through this whole game in co-op in the future with some friends back home when I go home during May, but I didn't want to wait until then to get the Platinum trophy, so obviously I just sort of did these 2 major co-op trophies now, just went ahead and got them done. But the 15 missions in co-op, it's not hard at all, really, as long as you just have a second controller to do it with. It might be a little harder to beat some of the missions, but it's still not too bad. Then you have to beat one of the 5 main bosses in co-op, also very easy, even with 2 controllers. So nothing really difficult about that, or you can just jump into a co-op game. I've helped someone else do this recently, and it was pretty easy because I just sort of rushed through the level with an explosive 10-round full auto shotgun and just destroyed everything. Just had him sort of hang right behind me for the whole thing. This trophy is different between the 2 versions. This is the only changed trophy. It used to be a viral trophy that required you to play online with a Gearbox employee or someone that already had it. Now you just have to play with 2 other players or 3 other players. Either way will work, meaning you can get it with multiple controllers or with a couple other people online. So, nice and easy. It's kind of nice they changed that trophy so it'll never be missable now. Reach proficiency level 10 with any weapon type. This should be pretty much unmissable. There's the other dual trophy right below me, and then this is a miscellaneous trophy in one specific area. Get 25 kills with each of the 4 different weapons types, none of those are difficult. Equip a class mod is pretty much story related. You have to rescue enough claptraps to earn 42 inventory slots. Now, there are exactly 10 claptraps in the main game, and each one will give you a storage deck upgrade, and you can accidentally sell or drop them. So as long as you don't do that, you'll be fine, but if you do drop or sell any of them and forget about them, then this trophy can become missable, but you can get a couple of upgrades from the DLCs. You can get either 2 or 3 from the DLCs, and you can get a couple more on New Game Plus. I think 2 of the claptraps will drop one on New Game Plus. So thankfully you will have a couple other opportunities, but I would suggest just getting it done during your main playthrough so you can get as many inventory slots as possible. And then finally, you just have to get kills with each of the character's action skills. The Siren is very quick and simple. The Hunter is probably the most time-consuming, actually, because you can only get 1 kill per deployment. The other 2 are pretty easy. I personally have mained Roland the Soldier personally, but a lot of people I know, like Lilith, I don't think Mordecai and Brick are quite as good as the other two, but it all depends on your own playstyle. So that's the base game. It's pretty easy. It's like a 3 out of 10 to platinum the game and maybe 40 hours to platinum. But then you get to the DLC, and the DLC is where things start to get a little more interesting about this game. The Zombie Island of Dr. Ned is quite easy, actually. It's a 2 out of 10, and it takes about 3.5 hours. You just have to complete the story to get the first 4 trophies, nothing difficult there. And you have to complete this long series of side quests that's going to require you to collect a bunch of zombie brains and bring them back at different intervals. It's not difficult, but it's just a little bit time-consuming, a little bit grindy, especially if you don't really do it in an efficient way. Because once you have finished enough brains for one mission, the brains do not carry over into the next one, so you'll have to refill the whole, like, counter for them. So pretty much, as soon as you get the necessary number of brains per mission, immediately run and turn them in, and that's the best way to do this. Then I finished up the Claptrap DLC. The Claptrap DLC is really not difficult, but it is quite grindy and quite time-consuming compared to the main, to the Ned DLC, the Zombie Island DLC. The Claptrap statues, there's 6 of them. They're all pretty easy to find, but you can also follow a video. You'll get 4 story-related trophies, so those are these 4. They all come right together. That's not really a glitch to see the trophy rarity all the same, because you fight them all pretty much consecutively at the end of the DLC. As you can see, I fought them all within like a 20-minute time period, and that's pretty accurate. The Crazy Request for Tannis requires you to collect a whole bunch of spare parts. Pretty much every Claptrap you kill will drop spare parts. But this works exactly the same way as the Zombie Island trophy, so it can be a little bit grindy if you don't know exactly how to do it. But if you work on it throughout the DLC and turn in the quests at every point where you finish one, you shouldn't have a problem. Now, the rest of the trophies, these 4 are a real pain in the butt. These were terrible on the PS3 version, and they're just as bad here. And guess what, Japanese PS3 version players? You don't get out of this trophy set anymore because for some reason they just added in the Claptrap DLC for the Japanese Game of the Year PS3 version for some reason literally almost a decade later. I don't understand that in the slightest, but they did it. Thankfully, though, the trophies have a very easy grinding method, like a very easy farming method. It's just quite time-consuming to get them. The best thing to do is to go to the final battle, kill all the turrets on the final boss, the giant interplanetary ninja assassin Claptrap gigantic vehicle robot thing. That's a very convoluted way of saying that. Kill all the turrets on it, and then whenever it moves around, it will deploy a bunch of Claptraps. And if you have a high damage weapon, or especially like an explosive weapon, you can just sit in front of the door where they deploy at and just fire into it consistently and just kill tons of Claptraps. It's the fastest way to grind this because it's probably like maybe a 1 in 10 to 20 chance that they'll drop any of these items. It's probably like 1 in 20 chance that they'll even drop one. It might even be lower chance than that. And you have to get all these different items. So out of all of these, the 3D glasses are pretty common, and there's a good chance this one will actually unlock naturally because you only need 5 of them, and they're one of the more common items. But the other items are all a little bit more problematic. 15 bobbleheads. Bobbleheads are not a common drop. Oil cans was the last one I got. It was the rarest drop for me. The panties, I had a lot of luck getting the panties to drop and the fish in a bag. Both of those dropped pretty often in the final battle, and plus you only need 8 total. The pizzas were another rarer drop, and you need 15 of them, so pretty much the rarer drops also take a lot longer because you need to get more of them. So I'm not happy about that series of trophies. They shouldn't have been in the game, or they should have been greatly reduced from that. Like maybe 5 of each item for the trophies would have been more reasonable. But overall, it's not really difficult because you can get pretty high over-leveled. Then you have the Secret Armory of General Knox, and this DLC is probably the best of the 4, but it also gets a little bit annoying just having to drive consistently halfway across the map, and it takes forever to get from place to place. But it's not really difficult. You'll get these first 3 trophies through completing the story. You have to kill all the loot midgets, and the Lancer Wall and Eraser, those are easy. Kill Crawlmarax the Invincible. He is the first raid boss of the Borderlands franchise, and he's one of the harder ones, in my opinion. At least because I could not get through him solo without using an exploit, like a little glitch spot that's invincibility. He's about the only one I haven't been able to do solo, because I think I did the ones in the pre-sequel, as well as everything but Terramorphous in Borderlands 2 solo. So he is one of the tougher bosses, but an interesting thing about this game is that it seems that they've updated the boss fights to where if you die during the boss fight, they retain any damage done to them. That was the case for the Interplanetary Ninja Assassin Claptrap. It was the case, I think, for the final boss, because I fell off the map, I think. Or maybe it wasn't the final boss, it was at least one of the other bosses, though. And even with some of the regular enemies. So I think that's a thing now. I think that's a change in the game. And if that's true, and if that occurs during the Crawmerax fight, then that's going to make the boss much, much easier to kill than he was on the PS3. And would probably make him very much possible to solo, because at that point, the only thing you lose if you die is money. And actually, I forgot to tell you the method for grinding money in the Claptrap DLC. At the end of it, you'll unlock like a secret loot room just full of like 20-ish crates of high-level weapons, including a good number of legendaries, and you can just take and sell those. Sell them, save and quit the game, jump back in, and the room is full again. So, easy way to grind lots of money. You have to reach level 61. The maximum rank is 69 with all the DLCs. 51 is pretty easy to get, I've already got it, but 61's a little bit more grindy. It's best to grind out XP in the Iridian Promontory against all the Guardians because they drop so much XP. All the missions in the Secret Armory, this one, I think there's like 40 to 50 of them, and this trophy was glitched on the PS3 version. I don't know if it is on the PS4 though. So just make sure that every mission correctly counts off when you do it, and I think it has something to do with the looting the armory trophy, or the looting the armory mission that repeats a couple times. It's kind of weird. And then this one is just a miscellaneous trophy. It's very expensive, but as long as you have the money, you can just immediately quit without saving and you won't lose your money. So nothing too bad there. I am going to be holding off on the Mad Moxxi DLC, though, for the main challenges. I can go ahead and do the lesser challenge because that's fairly easy and doesn't take horribly long, but even with the exploit methods, these trophies each take about 3 hours, and even worse than that, this DLC has become infamous in the PS4 version for constantly crashing around round 20 on any of the larger challenges, meaning that your 1 to 2 hours that you have spent already playing it goes completely to waste because there's no saving in the middle of the fights. So you are basically screwed. And I'm going to wait until they update it or until I can confirm that it's working properly. So I'm going to be holding off on those last 4 trophies here. I'll probably go ahead and do this one in the near future because it's not too difficult, and because those challenges don't last that long. They only last like 30 to 40 minutes a piece, so I think I'll be okay with those. But yeah, these other 4 trophies I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off on until I know that they're working, and I would suggest you do the same if you're going to play this game. So that is basically it for this week. Level 65, 2%, just hit level 65, 16,186 total trophies, 369 platinums, 2,038 golds, 4,113 silvers, 9,666 bronzes. So over the next week, I'm going to finish everything in Borderlands except maybe the Mad Moxxi DLC until I know that it's fixed. So that's going to be a big focus of this week. I'm going to get an easy 1 to 2 platinums this week, most likely, because it's been a while. Probably go ahead and do Storm Boy, because that's a real quick and easy one, and maybe an Artifacts Monday game I have lying around. We'll see. And I'm curious, whatever happened to the Just Cause 4 DLC? Like, weren't we supposed to get 3 of those, and the first one was supposed to be out like middle of March, and there hasn't even been like a word about any of them? I didn't buy the season pass or anything, so it's not like I'd lose money off of it or anything. But what the heck happened with that? Like, where are the DLCs for Just Cause 4? I'm just curious, because, I mean, I'm fine if they don't want to release any DLCs, because that's one less game I ever have to go back to. But I'm just a little bit surprised with that. I thought that we would have seen the first one by now, because the first pack for Just Cause 3 was out within like 4 months, so I don't know. It's just a little bit weird. Been holding off on that for some reason. Otherwise, though, I do have a bit of a rant I can talk about this week, and it has to do with boosting and like playing on the PS3 mostly. I'm just getting to a point where as much as I want to get 100% in some of these older games, mostly PS3 but also some PS4, I'm just kind of having trouble finding the motivation to do it, because organizing and even participating in boosting sessions is often a lot more problematic than it should be. If it's something that only requires 2 players, you and one other player, then it's generally easy and I don't have any issues doing that because, just one other player. You can easily schedule times, sort of do whenever you need to, not really problematic at all. But when you're doing these games that require, at least 4 people for a lot of stuff, because for example, I wanted to do some Battlefield 3 and start working on that. But as it turns out, you actually need to have 4 players to start a match and have the trophies count. You can do things in a rented server, but the group I was boosting with apparently did not want to rent a server, so I just really didn't end up doing anything with them. That and I got sick over last weekend when I would have probably started on it. But it's just, really with games like that, it's like I just don't really find the motivation to go in and do all the stuff that requires, 4 more players. Now, in the future, when I bring up my second PS3 during like the end of May to early June, it'll make some things easier to boost because, then I would need fewer people. But it's still just awful doing some old games like that because, Battlefield 3 isn't even that bad to boost since you can rent the servers. Because just imagine I have Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3 that are both going to be horrible. Uncharted 2 is tolerable, but Uncharted 3 is hell. I have those. I have Battlefield 3. I have Red Dead 1, which is terrible because the servers haven't worked correctly in years. And I still have quite a few trophies left in it. Though I think I got the one, worst trophy out of the way, the one that requires, 10 people from the zombie DLC. I got that one done, thankfully. So at least that one's out of the way, so that's one less really bad one to worry about. What else is there? Far Cry 2. I know that most of it can be boosted with 2 people, and some of it will require 3, maybe 4 people. But it's mostly just the fact of the 16-player trophy. I'm very afraid of doing that because that's a lot of people to coordinate to play. It's better than the one was in Homefront where it required 16 people, but you had to be the party leader of it or something, so it was worse. So this one isn't as bad as that, but it's still terrible. So it sort of turns me away from some of these games, even though I really want to start working on them. I want to at least knock out some of the easier ones, though, that I've gotten closer to completion on. Like, Resident Evil 5 is very easy to boost the multiplayer trophies, especially the PS4 version, because you don't have to do as much. And then The Division, I still need to get survival mode done. I'm probably just going to make a session and ask some other random high-level good player to carry me through it. I think that's going to be the best option for it, because I don't need every single extraction, but I need a lot of them. So that's probably my best option for that. Then, what else? Yeah, there's that. There's Resident Evil. There's Black Ops 1. I tried getting a boosting group together for that, but we could never make our schedules work out because everyone's in a different country and different time zone. Just couldn't get it to work out. So, and really, a majority of those trophies that I have left can be done with 2 people. The only one that requires 4 is Shangri-La, so I might make a different session just to do it with 2 players. Find another individual player just to do Call of the Dead and Moon with, and then later do a session for Shangri-La, because that one does require 4 players. So we'll see about that. I haven't fully decided yet. But I would really like to someday be done with Black Ops 1, The Division, both versions of Resident Evil 5, Battlefield 3, Red Dead, and Uncharted 2 are sort of my bigger focuses. Other games like Uncharted 3, I don't know if I will ever get done just because of the amount of effort for it. Some of the other Call of Duty games like Ghosts, I don't really ever see myself getting done because Ghosts is very hard to 100% with the extinction mode unless you have a really, really good group to carry you through it. Stuff like that. Just there's a lot of games I just don't want to go back to, especially on the PS3, and just losing the motivation to go back and grind the trophies in them. So maybe someday I'll get some of these done, maybe not. It's just boosting is just very draining and very obnoxious to set up. But like I said, maybe someday for some of them, I guess we'll really officially see in the future. So like I said, this week I want to work on Borderlands, and I'm probably going to try to work on at least one of those other games. I would really like to get Division done because I'm just missing that one trophy. So maybe I'll focus that as first priority, and then Battlefield 3, like work on Battlefield 3 and stuff. I think I might focus actually on The Division and Resident Evil 5 on the PS4 right now, because those are the two sort of easiest things I have to boost. They require probably about the least amount of time and the least amount of players. Because most of Resident Evil 5 can actually be done with 2 players, but a couple of them need 4 players, but it's still fairly easy. So I guess we'll see over the next week or so. I'm going to start looking into sessions for those games. Yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a longer one, but it has been a couple weeks since I've done one. So hopefully this week's schedule will be fully back to normal with this update on Monday, trophy video on Tuesday, stream on Wednesday, stream on Friday and Saturday. So hopefully it'll be back to normal. I should have another Fallout cooking video up soon. I made a food item recently. I also have another funny video that I think you guys might enjoy, as well as a stream highlights video of a certain game. So, see you guys this week.